Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first installment of what I am calling Marvel the Gathering, a series of videos where a lapsed Commander player who currently makes Marvel Champions content is going to be building Commander decks with the Universes Beyond heroes. And I was originally going to do this with Spider-Man, and then I realized that Universes Beyond does not release until September of 2025, which shows how much I'm lapsed, because that sounds wild to me, because I remember seeing the Spider-Man, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, all that stuff advertised months ago. So what's going on there? And while I could have gone with like Iron Man or Captain America or Wolverine or Black Panther, I decided that I was going to start today by talking about Deadpool. So we're going to build a Deadpool deck today, and we're just going to see how this goes. So if you want to, you can always just jump to the end where I will talk about the deck and how I got to where I did and what we're looking at. Or you can just sit here and ride along with me as we do the entire little experience here. So let's see, right off the bat, I wanted to do Deadpool just because he seems so interesting. And I'll have the card up on the screen at the bottom just for anybody who's not aware. For anybody who's not aware, Deadpool is a 5 power, 3 toughness legendary creature, mutant assassin hero with the card text of, see, this is super small for me. As Deadpool enters play, exchange his text box and another creature's. So the idea here just being that obviously his text box will move over to somebody else, then that player's owner will lose 3 life every turn, and then they can sacrifice the creature to have all their opponents draw. Is it just player draw? Oh, just draws a card. I've looked at this card several times over the weekend, did not compartmentalize it, but let's get into it. What are we going to do with Deadpool? And I think right off the bat, I'm going to say that I'm going to try to build more of a flavorful design here. I'm not going to... I will freely admit that I don't love Universes Beyond, but I kind of don't love it for a very petty reason. It's not even the fact that the cards are outside of Marvel canon, or sorry, it's not. I'm going to screw that up a lot because I say Marvel a lot. It's not even that it's outside of Magic canon. It's actually, of all things, it's the card frame. I actually think the Universes Beyond card frame, which I think the first time I saw it was with the Warhammer stuff. I thought, okay, this is just a flavorful frame. This is not going to be it. But the frames on the Universes Beyond cards, I just do not like. As somebody who is really invested in frames, they just rub me the wrong way. And so besides a commander, I really don't want to see my deck with those frames. They look like they're not real. They look like they're poorly printed proxies. Sort by release date. So yeah, it's like I said, it's super petty. This frame versus this frame, like, just as somebody who's been playing Magic since 7th edition, I did not have any problem with changing to the modern card frame. I did not have anything wrong with the M15 card frame. The Universes Beyond card frame bothers me, and so I feel like I'm probably going to miss out on really good cards simply because I am petty. Well, I want to grow past this at some point. I just haven't yet. Let me see here. So, I'm not even going to worry about dual lands right now. Let's not worry about that. Let's not get caught up in that. So we are going to let's do red black cards that, oh god, what is that? See, Mana Flare. That's what I was thinking of. I want people to be able to play out their good stuff, so we're going to put in Mana Flare. This is not going to go well. I guarantee you this will not be the award-winning thing for me. Okay, let's see. So additionally, we want to do that. Oh, you know what I want to put in? Just to have even more fun, we're going to put in Xantcha, Sleeper Agent. From here, let's go with, what are we going to do? And the thing is, I don't want to look at EDH Rec until I've gotten, I'd say, 30 or 40 cards in, just so that I am trying to go about this my own way. How about whenever a creature dies? Whenever... What are these other ones? Choose player. God, do we do like a group hug kind of thing here? I want you to put out your good stuff. Honestly, Spectral Searchlight. Yeah, just let's give people some extra mana from time to time. But then, whenever a creature dies. Oh, yeah, Hanny, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And of course, I'm very prepared for the fact that there will be established. Actually, I don't want to go to EDH Rec yet, but I feel like I'm going to EDH Rec and see that there is 800 of these decks, and that I'm not going down the correct way. You know, we're going to shift this real quick. All right. Okay. So now I've moved. I'm now looking at, instead of you guys watching me go like this the whole time. Okay. So let's see here. So let's do. Yep. Okay. Massacre Worm's not a bad idea. I like this also. Ooh, Massacre Girl. Okay. Actually, that sends me down another thing here. Okay. But I like the idea here that I like Massacre as a theme here. What does Massacre Girl do again? Whenever, oh, but these don't sit here. Okay, so neither of these are what we want to be doing. Okay, yeah, I think we're going to reach a point here when it's really going to open up. Oh, yes. Whenever another creature dies or creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, yeah, we're going to put it in Sir Conrad. A deck that I just never built. I think it's interesting. I've just never built it. I don't think we're going to be leaning too far into this, but I think that taking advantage of creatures dying is going to be a good time. And unfortunately, we can't do like a Nekusar deck here where people draw cards and they take damage. We probably can, but it's just not going to be. That might be the one break in the rules. Is I will not look at Deadpool's EDH Rec page, but maybe I will look at the EDH Rec page of other commanders. Because I guess additionally, I don't have to be giving my opponents all the best stuff. So what I could do is is there creatures that have a body that's not good, but abilities that are really cool. And nothing is immediately coming to mind, but we're going to let that simmer in the back of our minds. Let us think that through. I don't want to necessarily just like build a deck that is around. Harvester's Soul seems fine. I don't want to build a deck that's just like all your creatures die constantly. I sort of just want it to be almost like flickering Deadpool. Actually, wait. Okay, so here is actually something that's coming to mind. What we could do is Deadpool swaps stuff with people, but then we sacrifice Deadpool. And like, you know, this is my hipster MTG kind of thing bleeding through. But like, we put Deadpool onto the Mimic Vat, and we just make another token of him. So all we're doing is just swapping his text box with stuff, so that people just have this, just basically like these cards that are just slowly draining them of life. That seems like a fun idea. So let's actually let's do this. EDH Rec. So what we're gonna do is now that we have like a path, high synergy cards. Basically, I'm looking for things that are when a non-token creature enters the battlefield. If you do create a token. Yes. So what we're gonna do is we want the mirror box. That's what I'm thinking of, right? Okay. Yep. I thought we want the Helm of. Helm of Hosts, what it's called? Boy, am I happy that I got my copies. 17 isn't too bad, but it's one piece of cardboard. And then the other one was Blade of Selves? Blade of Selves? That I kept calling Blade of Shells for some reason. Okay, so let's start doing this. So let's do. I'm a big fan of tags, so let's double Deadpool. Not necessarily the biggest organized person, but I do like to do tags whenever possible. That way I can get a picture of what I have built up. So we're getting a loose idea of like what each component of our deck is going to be doing here. What do you do? Battlefield, you control another creature you don't control. Oh, and it gains Myriad till the end of the turn. With these doubling Deadpool, so basically what we would need to do is for something like Blade of Selves or Flame Shadow Conjuring, Helm of the Host, basically we are holding on to a Deadpool that does do this and then making copies that then swap, which I think is probably okay to some extent, but it does mean that we probably want to highlight some like lifelink kind of stuff, some way to gain back life, which in Rakdos there are ways. It's just not going to be nearly as easy. Bedevil, I do like Bedevil. We at some point we will start figuring out how much does he cost again. Cost 4. Okay, so Dark Ritual is not out of the realm of possibilities. Oh, actually, that would be kind of funny. We hate Mirage, make copies of the person whose text box we swapped with, and then they come into play, they swap with somebody else, the tokens. Oh, actually, you know what? I like that. I like that enough that I want to make chaos. So how this is, okay, let me just make sure this works. So we will choose up 2 creatures we don't control. Those being creatures that already have the Deadpool text on them. For each of those creatures, create a tokens copy of them. When they come into play, they swap text boxes. Yeah, we're gonna do that. I don't have a tag for that yet, but yeah, let's do that. Let's make people have even more copies, and then our tokens go away, which doesn't matter because at the beginning of your upkeep. Yeah, so yeah, we're not. I like that. I do like this idea where we're just basically holding on to a Deadpool, like just losing some life real quick. If I could, I would have some kind of like life swap thing. Whip of Erebos. So yeah, just in case somehow Deadpool ends up in our graveyard, we can like whip him back. And then does that exile afterwards? If you would. Yeah, okay, so we'll just send him back to the command zone at that point. But yeah, if we can whip him back every once in a while. And then we'll also look for other creatures that do this. Rising of the Day. Creatures you control have haste. Legendary creatures you control get a little bit bigger. What is his power and toughness again? 5/3. I do want, it's probably not going to show up here, but like the Witch's, not the Witch's Cottage, the Witch's House, I believe is what it's called. Is it Clinic? Is that what it is? Witch's Clinic? Target commander gains lifelink. Okay, so at this point now, I think we're moving towards gains lifelink. I think, yeah, we're going to want to look up has lifelink as well. Oh, no, that's not bad. Basically, we want to be able to give Deadpool lifelink. Well, not exclusively Deadpool. We want to have some way to, if we're going to be sitting on our Deadpool, we're not going to augment him. We're going to make copies of him from time to time. We just want to have a way to regain some life. So actually, I shouldn't even be worrying about gains lifelink. I should just say I'm looking for exclusively, just give me lifelink. 198 cards. That's not so bad. Basilisk Collar, Batterbone, and Batterskull. Do I care about these 3 cards? Batterbone. And at this point, we're not really too concerned about our mana curve or even the amount of cards in our deck. I'm just trying to get a working list that we can then sort of chop down as we go. And I think probably equipment that gives lifelink is going to be the most helpful here. You know what? I think I'm going to curb the power level. I'm going to do Luxodon Warhammer instead of whatever the Elspeth sword thing is. I don't remember what it's called. Her little like staff thing that she got during the Theros Beyond Death or whatever it's called. I like the idea of Deadpool having a quill, but I just don't think that's going to work out. We're going to look up the Pretender. He likes interesting text boxes, but what kind of text boxes does he like the most? Oh, that was a good question. So if I give him Undying, he goes to the graveyard. He comes back. I think he comes back. He's a new object, so he would come back and be himself. Actually, let's do that. This deck is stupid. I will fully admit this deck is kind of stupid. I'm trying to think, is there a way to take the life loss and turn it into a net benefit for us? I don't feel like there is. Oh, you know what? Felwar Stone is good, because if we might need it. Felwar Stone. This could go either way. Oh, Talisman of Indulgence? Is that what it was? Want to get rid of Deadpool? Just sacrifice him to an attrition. You know what? It's a stupid card, but honestly, it has purpose. And that's a $24 card now? Holy cow. I think I have both of these printings. How much was the Shadow Spear? I might be $37. Okay, we need to see another printing of the Shadow Spear. I'm not going to include that. I'm going to try to budget myself a little bit here, but holy cow, that's a $25 bill. Wow. See, I'm not opposed to this and like, what's that called? You know the card. If you're this far in, I'm not opposed to these kind of cards. Change variables. Wow. I don't mind these cards. They seem like, and I get it. You have to kind of grow past your beginnings, and the game has changed enough. But I don't love these, like, when a creature you control dies, make each player just like sacrifice something. Like, it's not what I love, but at the same time, we kind of need it. So we are currently at, I'm going to get 5 more cards in here, then I'm going to go look and see what other people have done with Deadpool, just to sort of speed this up a little bit, see if there's anything that now matches what I've decided to do. Oh, actually, that's not too bad. For the price of, would that be 7? Oh, 6. Price of 6. Okay, yeah, actually, that's not too bad. It's just one more than what we've currently got. So we'll play out Minion Reflector. Make another copy of Deadpool. We're gonna double Deadpool. And I'd like to have somewhere around 8 to 9, maybe 10. 8 to 10 ways to double up Deadpool. Maybe find some more Death Trigger stuff. The Empiric Rights, I'm not going to pass that up. Going with those 35-cent cards. I just want anything that does Undying. Is there a way? Obviously, there's ways to grant Undying. Non-human creatures you control get Undying. Okay, it's the Unhallowed. Okay, so give more Undying. So there was a Dan variant that I was trying to figure out where every creature was just the Treacherous Pit Dweller, and it didn't go well. Undying Evil. So yeah, we'll just toss them there as well. Okay, so at this point, we've reached what I think is probably a reasonable point here. But I was trying to think if there was some form of like a red or black show and tell, and I honestly don't think that kind of card exists. But let's look at what is probably no doubt going to be like 12 decks. Let's see. Oh, 8,000 decks. Okay, so I feel a little bit better. All right, so let's see what other people have come up with that we could take advantage of. Blade of Cells, Rocket. I both get this and don't get this. Oh, Conjurer's Closet. Did I put in Conjurer's Closet? I don't think I did. That's a good call out. I'm a little sad. I seem to have inadvertently built the typical commander deck. Oh, okay. This is the kind of thing I definitely would have wanted to have. So something where whenever an opponent draws a card, and actually I should just look up that text real quick. See, this is another one that's probably good. See, I guess the only thing I'm kind of taking from this is that, like, yes, you can swap your text box with a haste enabler, but at the same time, all you're doing is you're creating a Deadpool that just makes more Deadpools with Myriad. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing a rules interaction there, where that doesn't make sense to me. Main upkeep, each player draws a card. Okay, actually, I like that too. Storm Fist Crusader. And this way we can sort of get all the little groupings figured out and then sort of decide what is going to be like the 7 to 9 cards in each one of those little groups so that we have that level of consistency. I like both of these. Undying Malice. Just going to go under Undying. And so you spell Feign. Feign Death. Okay. Magic definitely helps you to open up your vocabulary. So actually, we're going to probably have a nice little core here of Undying adjacent stuff. So Supernatural Stamina. Supernatural Stamina, put that under Undying. And then the other one was Fake Your Own Death. Where did that go? We have 6 Undying adjacent things. I think that's probably going to be enough. I'm not going to worry about more of them. Oh, that's a good point. So, like, draw spells that you sacrifice a creature. So would I rather... Okay, so we don't have any... We don't really have much draw here. We're not necessarily looking for too much... Although instant speed, card draw by sacrifice was the other one. Where was the other one? Just saw. So Deadly Dispute, Village Rites... Nasty End. You know what? I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I'm growing, everybody. I'm growing. At this point, not all these are permanents, but we've got a good mix of permanents and instant speed sacrifice outlets so that we can sacrifice him, put him onto a Mimic Vat. Beyond that, where are we sitting here? We are at 82 cards. I haven't fine-tuned the lands. That's not the most important thing to me. I have. Okay, so I have 4 mana rocks. I would kind of like to have more than that. Is there? Look at the sorceries. Oh yeah, I was gonna look to see. See, and the thing is, I don't think there's gonna be like a Rakdos show and tell. If we could give people like meaningless tokens, that would be another thing. Yeah, so if I could take survivors. And just that would be funny. I lose. This leaves the battlefield until I gain control of all the survivors that have all these triggers on them. But I guess in some ways I'm kind of creating a deck here that's like saying, "Hey, you have a choice. Either you let everybody else draw cards, or you're just going to be taking a bunch of damage." And anything that can sort of grease the wheels. I realize actually these two might not be so great because then people can just choose to sacrifice. Yeah, actually, I'm going to remove these. These just give people an easy out. Like, oh, I'll just sacrifice my my card that's been, corrupted by Deadpool. Once I get to the point I have to choose lands, it's going to be kind of boring unless there's like a utility land. It's just going to be, and these are the dual lands that make sense for this deck. Whatever opponent. Oh, yep, Underworld Dreams. At this point, I should probably just pull up Nekusar and just start going through his stuff, because I think at this point we've kind of reached that point. Oh, Fate Unraveler, yeah. Love me a Fate Unraveler. Obviously, I'm taking advantage of the fact that I get to draw a bunch of cards, but like also you can be sacrificing this swapped text box creature to deal damage to your opponents, which I feel like is probably, at least it's moving the game forward, and I feel like if nothing else, I'm trying to design a deck here that is, in fact, actually like moving the game forward instead of putting us into like a pause. Good. That's something I didn't even think about. What are we doing for mass removal with our 15-ish more slots? I feel like we really don't need a whole bunch of like destroy all creatures, but we just need like, I'd say 3. And that even seems like a lot. So I remember when I first started playing Magic that there was a cycle of cards like this. Any player may have blah blah blah. Any player that has or something along those lines. Let's see. What was the way that this was phrased? Destroy all creatures unless a player has Breaking Point. The way we misunderstood this card, or some of us misunderstood this card. I don't remember if I made this logical leap, But the logical leap that was made at one point was that, like, if you physically had breaking point in your hand when this was cast, then you did something else. So destroy all creatures unless a player has breaking point. And we read it as if, like, destroy all creatures unless a player has breaking point, comma, deal 6 damage to him or her. So if you either destroyed all creatures or if somebody had breaking point in their hand, you just dealt 6 damage to them. Like, we misunderstood that so bad. See, I'm not even looking for the best stuff. But Deadpool seems like the kind of person that would be out for blood money. Then, see, I'm almost looking just for, like, budget. Removal. Crux of Fate. Last one's that. Okay, so we've done our removal. Ooh, I don't like that. I am so conceited. Okay, so we've got our. I like this. That's cool. But I'm a stickler here. I have nothing if not a stickler, and I'm not choosing this one. We all know why. So at this point, we're at 90 cards. We've got death triggers. We've got making copies of Deadpool. We've got friendly mana, slug. Got some removal. I need some card draw. What's a good card draw thing? I feel like I'm just going to end up being like super hipster about this and not like actually go with a good draw spell. Dark Prophecy. All right, so we are at 93 cards. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5, because I'm not going to count. 5.5 mana rocks. That doesn't feel like enough, but at the same time, I honestly feel like we might be going through our deck faster than I think we're going to be able to with just the amount of, like, things die, we draw a card. Hopefully that works out. So we've got card draw, we've got some removal. I kind of want pinpoint removal though, like something like murder. Boy, Wrecking Ball would really be sending a message to people. Okay, we're back to Bedevil. Bedevil and I joke, but this actually is kind of funny. But that seems like a Deadpool card. Because then you can make the Miley Cyrus reference. All right, and we are back after an extended amount of time away because I had to go get my daughter for the last recording. And then my son ended up being sick. Something crossed my mind as I had some time to think, the 36, 48 hours I've had to think. It occurred to me that I was completely overlooking that Deadpool himself is a mercenary. Actually, okay, not as much as I was thinking. Okay, so commit a crime. Huh. Actually, let me just think this over here. Is there anything that's jumping out at me as something that would be helpful? No, but so what we're going to do is we're just going to look at 112 cards. Okay, 112 cards. I'm loosely aware of this set, so it's not like I'm going to be reading everything for the first time, but maybe something's going to jump out at me that we can be using. Oh, bounty, okay. See, this is the kind of stuff I was thinking about that I did not have in the deck. So bounty board. And I honestly thought that there was going to be a solid chance that I was going to just hit 100 and be like, this is the deck, but let me just see here. Gosh, okay, so so there's a world where Deadpool steals this guy's text box, and then just has other characters mount him, which I feel like is a dirty, dirty joke. Snake Horse mount. Whenever attacks, reveal the top card of your deck and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. If it's in saddle, otherwise each opponent loses that much. Saddle 3. Okay, I'm going to keep the mounts just kind of in the back of my mind. I don't foresee that being the direction I'm going to go in, though. I did also, while I was thinking things over, realize that part of the advantage of turning into myriad creatures is that you get to have a bunch of copies of Deadpool. The only thing about that kind of bothered me was just that then you're just kind of doing a quasi Voltron deck. you're just trying to like win through the 5 combat damage. You're not actually doing anything special because the copies that you're making are copies that have the myriad text on them. And while I do want to use like Blade of Selves to do that, though. Okay, so each outlaw creature in your graveyard gains Encore X. I don't even know that I have. Let's just switch this back to types again. So creatures. I don't even really know that I'm playing into the outlaws thing that much because assassins don't count, right? Do they? Of course, this doesn't tell me what it is. Outlaws are assassin, mercenary, pirate, rogue, and warlock. Okay, so technically the Needlehead is a outlaw. Knight. Yeah, I'm almost more Knight tribal than I am outlaws. But each outlaw in your graveyard gains Encore X. Exile. For each opponent, create a token that's a copy of that. Okay. Let's go back to tags. So I might even say that something like this might be preferable over Mimic Vat. But at least Mimic Vat, when Deadpool were to be put on here, I can just sacrifice another creature to swap him back out if Mimic Vat's about to be destroyed. Is a lot of like ifs though, because I'm pretty sure that if Mimic Vat goes away, I don't get Deadpool back, and my deck just stops working. I'll keep this kind of in mind. I don't know that I want to put it in though. I'm actually surprised that this is quickly becoming like not as worthwhile as I was expecting. Rakdos joins up. When Rakdos joins up, enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with an additional 2+1/+1 counters. When a legendary creature you control dies. Oh, we're including that. Okay. Joins up. Ooh, there's another one. Okay. What does Tiny Bones... What does Tiny Bones join up do? When this enters the battlefield, choose any number of target players. Discard a card. Okay, not totally against that. When a legendary creature you control enters the battlefield under control. Sorry, when a legendary creature you control enters the battlefield under control. That's not how that says. Players each mill. You know what? I'm also not going to turn that down because I think I am going to have quite a few legendary creatures enter the battlefield. Shoot the Sheriff. Kind of feels like a Deadpool card. I like that theming. Whenever an outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Why not? File Smasher. Oops. Smasher, Gleeful. Okay, so at this point we have we're doing pretty good. We've only overfilled the deck by 2, so I will worry about the lands later. I don't know about Varchild now that I say it. See, well, I guess part of the thing that I thought about as I was reflecting on this over the last couple days is obviously we're exchanging the text box, but I feel like putting it onto a really small creature, then it just comes down to like them making an attack and someone chump blocking it, which I think to some degree the rest of the table is gonna be like, I'm not gonna block your 1/1 because it's dealing 3 damage or you're losing 3 life. And I guess additionally, like it almost becomes like self-sacrifice to get rid of stuff. So having something like Varchild give them a bunch of survivor tokens gives you fodder to swap text boxes with. The survivors can't block, they can't attack me. And that does seem tempting where you just give your opponents a bunch of like stuff to attack each other with, and 1 or 2 of those over the course of the game may at some point just read either sacrifice for 3 and make everybody else draw a card, or just take 3 damage every turn. I'm kind of on the fence. Don't know if this is going to be the final list, but at this point we are going to, I guess, cut to I'm going to get all lands into order, and then we'll cut to the final version of this deck and kind of just do a deck tech for anybody that jumped to the end. I will be better spent right here. Lock me back in. All right, so here we are. This is what I'm going to say is the final version of this Deadpool deck for draft number 1. In my mind, this is actually a pretty jank deck, but also pretty reasonably priced. The core idea of this deck is that we are going to be having Deadpool go in and out of play to swap text boxes and just make it as awkward as possible for the rest of the table to play. We're going to do that on the back of some death triggers like Dark Prophecy, Falcon Wrath Noble, Harvester of Souls, Massacre Worm, and Sir Conrad, just to make creatures dying, whether it be our creatures, whether it be Deadpool, or our opponent's creatures that they are sacrificing for Deadpool to do his thing, or they've got a bad text box, creatures need to die, and I believe this one cares about creatures I control, but all the other ones basically don't care. I mean, obviously Massacre Worm cares about them being the creatures my opponents control, but for the most part, other than Dark Prophecy, every single other one of them is going to be able to benefit from my opponent's creatures dying. To do this even better, we're going to be duplicating Deadpool with Blade of Selves, Conjurer's Closet to blink him in and out of play. The nice thing there is we pass off our text box, Conjurer's Closet takes him out, puts him back in, and now he's got his old text box that he can swap again. I like that combo. Flame Shadow Conjuring, which I guess has it opens up the part of this where we're going to be doing, if our game plan works out, our game plan is going to have a mixture of having Deadpool come down, not swap text boxes, and just be able to recur himself that way. Like with the Blade of Selves, all the tokens will come into play. They'll swap. They'll eventually go away. I do actually remember thinking that having Mirror Box is good, and having the Helm of Hosts is good because it's creating non-legendary tokens. But I now also see the reason why you would want the Master Multiplied, because he also says there's no legend rule. I did not want to try to find more space in here because I was already in love with what I was doing. Mimic Vat, which is maybe the most fragile part of this, because while we do have a pretty lengthy list of sacrifice outlets, we need to make sure that if Deadpool is on the Mimic Vat, we have a way to get him out of the vat if that were to happen. And at that point, he would go into our graveyard, I believe, and this is lapsed Magic player rules kind of catching me here. I believe when he goes to the graveyard, that then gives me a choice to put him into my command zone. If I'm wrong, then I'll be wrong. Minion Reflector comes into play. We can pay 2 additional, make another copy of him that gets sacrificed pretty much immediately. Mirror Box, which just turns off the legend rule and gives my legendary creatures. Non-token creature you control gets +1 for each other creature that shares the same name as that creature, so our Deadpools are just going to get stronger and stronger. We've got some group slug elements in here that it's just caring about opponents drawing cards, because obviously Deadpool is going to enable everybody to draw cards. My hope is that by just creating this level of politics, it just sort of keeps everybody at a pretty even keel while keeping me on top. And then Wound Reflection being the end of the group slug package. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they've lost. So even though Deadpool is not doing any of that, these other cards should be just kind of like shaving off 1 or 2 damage if 1 or 2 of them is in play. Then Wound Reflection is just doubling that damage. So we're going to quickly become the arch enemy, but hopefully that we will have set up enough of an engine that we will not just immediately fall, but who knows. Rakdos is just a card that has a text box that I'd like to have. So is Vile Smasher to some degree, because maybe we're duplicating Deadpool, maybe we're not, I don't know. We've got some Legend Matter cards here, and those are just the join up cards. This one cares about Deadpool dying, this one's going to care about Deadpool coming into play. Got our Mana Rocks, pretty basic. Took out the Mana Flare because I just realized that I didn't want to do that. We've got three mass removal spells, 3 pinpoint removal spells. We are going to be fragile to certain things. Like taking out outlaw creatures is nice, but we've only got one way to get rid of artifacts and planeswalkers. We've got this to get rid of a land. Not perfect, but at the same time, I feel like we are working on an axis where the creature removal, the removal stuff is really going to be, I give you this text box, you need to do something about it. For politics, we've got this to get out multiple tokens into play for our opponents to kind of like take shots at each other. We've got this, which is another piece of politics. The sleeper agent will go to somebody else, and then any other player can pay to have the player that controls Xantcha lose 2 life, and then they get to draw a card, just giving people incentive to like bleed other players dry. We've got a lengthy amount of sacrifice outlets. Got all of our lands. Really, this is really the most like baseline, pre-constructed kind of land base possible. There is really no utility. There's no nuance. I have Ash Barrens in here to help me draw. I like to put in cycling lands whenever possible. So we've got Ash Barrens, Canyon Sleuth. We've got the 2 deserts which can come in and just be cycling for us. I think we have what's the other one? I feel like there was another one. I might just be wrong. Temple of Malice. I actually, if I could do more Scrying, the Surveil land was just too expensive. But Scrying is cheap and all that. And then just Lifelink, because I have a feeling there's going to be a point in time when Deadpool's just going to be sitting there and he's not going to swap text boxes, and so we're going to be losing 3 life every turn. Just a way to regain some of that life is just going to be nice. Whip is just kind of a nice backup plan, so that if Deadpool ends up in our graveyard, we have a way to get him back. Then he's just going to get discarded or sacrificed at the end of the turn, go back into my command zone. We've got Undying. It's just a way to bring back Deadpool on a regular basis. Just make sure that he's really tough to take down. Especially now that I've looked at Deadpool's EDH rec page, I realize that this isn't actually not too far off the beaten path. Although I think that there's a lot of nuance that can be done here. And this list, like I said, if I build it in paper, this list might look different in a year, just because I'll have figured out what I like and what I don't like, and we'll make it even better. But yeah, I don't know how long this video is going to be, because I imagine I'm going to cut out a lot of the chaff. But I feel like I have 2 hours of recording. So hopefully I did not bore you. Either way, thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next Marvel the Gathering video.